With that, we'll move on to announcements and presentations, and I'll take the first. I think our city clerk will be taking item B. Item A is not too late to submit your count for the 2020 census. The deadline for the census is September 30th. It's not too many days away, folks. And it is important that our San Bruno community is accurately counted. Please visit my2020census.gov or 844-330-2020 to be counted. And I want to thank a lot of the council members who have been posting as well, just to kind of get the reminder out and the word out. The 30th is the deadline. This is the one time we have it. It won't happen for 10 more years, and it is real critical to the county, to the city being represented, as well as getting the monies and the representation that we deserve from various levels. Item B, City Clerk.
Upcoming expiration of terms on various commissions, boards, and committees. Applications may be found on the city website at www.sanbruno.ca.gov or by calling the city clerk's office at 650-616-7061.
Thank you. Item C, proclamation declaring October 4th through the 10th, 2020 as National Fire Prevention Week in San Bruno. I won't go ahead and read all the whereases. And is the fire chief going to have anything to say this evening?
I am bringing him in right now. Just one moment.
As you're doing that, this is again declaring October 4th through the 10th, 2020 as National Fire Prevention Week in San Bruno. And there's several whereases, but I'll get to the bottom, and the fire chief will do a much better job than I. But whereas the 2020 Fire Prevention Week theme is, the theme of this year's Fire Prevention Week will be, quote, serve up fire safety in the kitchen, unquote. Effectively services to remind us that we need to take personal steps to increase our safety from fire. Now, therefore, I, Rico E. Medina, Mayor of the City of San Bruno, do hereby proclaim the week of October 4th through the 10th, 2020 as Fire Prevention Week. And obviously, we are virtual, so I will not be able, or none of us can hand this to you, Chief, but it will be in your box. But let's turn it over to you.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, thank you for having me this evening. The proclamation itself, it speaks for itself, but I would just like to remind everybody it's a very important one, specifically this year with the COVID situation that we're currently in. A lot of people are spending a lot more time at home, and it's just important to make sure that we recognize that, because the home fires are definitely up throughout this COVID period, and just like to reinforce that. And remember, we're working on Fire Prevention Week is October 4th through the 10th, and we'll be doing some outreach to the best of our abilities this year with the COVID process, but we'll be reaching out to the children in the schools throughout San Bruno. So just want to make that point. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Let's move on to item D. Receive the annual report from the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. And I believe we will have the chair of the committee. And Chairman Nigel.
Honorable Mayor, can you hear me?
Sir.
Okay. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of our City Council. My name is David Nigel, and I am the BPAC chair. Tonight I'll be presenting the 2019 BPAC annual report. Tonight's agenda will begin with the 2019 BPAC's composition, followed by introduction of the city staff, BPAC's role and responsibility. Then I'll go through the significant activities of BPAC has participated in 2019 and conclude my presentation with the areas of future work of 2020. The next slide is the membership of our committee. It's a hard-working committee, and as I look at the participation list, all members are viewing this presentation, except for Henry Marr, who had surgery on his shoulder today, so he's not with us. The committee is comprised of 7 members and 1 city council liaison, and I would like to give special thanks to Council Member Laura Davis for serving as our 2020 City Council liaison. I'm so proud of our staff. We have such a collegial relationship. They present us with many grants and ideas, and they support our ideas that we pass on to the City Council. And you can see the staff listed on that slide. The BPAC is a 7-member quasi-judiciary body that provides input and advice to the City Council. The committee is advisory in nature, and its input is considered in evaluating the effectiveness of projects, programs, and policies related to bicycle and pedestrian activities in the city of San Bruno. This feedback is usually in the form of recommendations to our City Council and staff. BPAC Vice Chair Walt Bird and I have had the pleasure to make a pedestrian and bicycle safety presentation to the students of Decima M. Allen Elementary School in March 10th, 2020. And I have to add in here, besides my notes, I started teaching at Allen in 1962, probably before most of you were born. And we had our first safety program there with the CHP and the San Bruno Police, which was a fantastic program. We spoke about pedestrian and bicycle safety and emphasized the stop, look, and wave program that was started 12 years ago. We also demonstrated and distributed safety handouts, 10 top safety tips developed by Walter and myself. This came about because we had a horrific accident of a girl from Parkside being killed on a bicycle 12 years ago. So we developed that sheet that we pass out at all our events in the park and whenever we go to the schools for our presentation. This annual national event celebrating our children and the magic of reading took place on Saturday, April 27th from noon to 4. At the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee table, information table, committee members Walter Bird, Matt Gaines, and David Nigel provided information about pedestrian and bicycle safety. Darcy Smith, Community and Economic Development Director, contacted and coordinated with our fire department to distribute bicycle helmets. And this took place as Fire Chief Dave Cresta and 5 firemen joined the BPAC and Junior Giants table as they distributed and fitted free bicycle helmets to more than 125 youngsters. In May of 2019, the committee members volunteered at 2 Bike to Work Day refresher stations, an event that San Bruno has been proudly being represented since the very beginning of the program earlier at the beginning of this century. One was at the San Bruno BART station and the other at the Caltrain station. The Bike to Work was very successful with over 100 bicyclists checking in and more than 300 passersby at each refresher station. With support from commute.org, Bill Bright, coordinator for the entire Bay Area, committee members distributed goodie bags to bicyclists. I also want to commend Cecile Riberoso, our representative, and you can see in the slide the company she represents, Walmart. They have been terrific. YouTube is our sponsor at the Caltrain. The annual Posey Parade, followed by Community Day in the Park, took place on June 2nd, 2019. The Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee booth was staffed by Adam Cazzetti, Henry Marr, and David Nigel, and information about pedestrian and bicycle safety was disseminated. 2 wonderful high school students, Hannah and Max Engel of Cappuccino High School, were also great help at the booth. With the adoption of the in October of 2019, the San Mateo Avenue Conceptual Streetscape Plan aims to improve the city's visual character, sustainability, and safety on San Mateo Avenue. The plan will also foster a positive experience for all modes of transportation, including pedestrians, bicyclists, and vehicular traffic. And during the plan preparation process, BPAC members not only volunteered at various community outreach meetings in March and May, but also provided valuable input and feedback in August and September, and BPAC and Planning Commission meetings before the plan was formally adopted by our City Council. I'd like to also commend our staff member, Rucha Dande, who really did a great job spearheading that project. Looking at 2021, the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee will identify citywide safety priority improvements, expand further community outreach, especially for children and seniors, research and develop additional public service announcements, and to develop recommendations to City Council to finance bike and pedestrian improvements to our city streets. In the general vicinity near Mills Park development area, using the $100,000 payment that is included in the community benefit package. This $100,000 payment should be made available to the city either in December of 2020 or January of 2021. In conclusion, the BPAC would like to thank the City Council for setting policy direction and looks forward to more collaborative efforts. This concludes my presentation tonight, and I am more than happy to answer any questions or take your comments.
Well, Mr. Chair, thank you very much for all that you and the committee do. I do see that we have a hand from Mr. Robinson, so I want to see if he wanted to speak on this item.
Just one moment while I try to bring him in. Hi, Malcolm, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Malcolm Robinson. I'm a 31-year resident of San Bruno and past member of the San Bruno Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. I would like to thank the city BPAC, that's what we call ourselves, for their time and their efforts on behalf of people who like to walk and bicycle and exercise and find other ways besides cars of getting around the city. You guys do great work. We have a great city plan that was developed at that time that's being implemented, and keep up the good work. Thank you very much. I'd also like to thank the San Bruno City Council for resubmission to the San Mateo County's CCAG BPAC, which I'm a member of, for resubmission of the Huntington-San Antonio Corridor project. This is a project that will bridge between Centennial Trail in South San Francisco and connect up with the Bayside Trail in Millbrae. And it was a project that initially was a submission 3 years ago. You know, with the change in city government, you know, a lot of staff turnover, but you resubmitted, and it was voted to approve $385,200 for that project, and it was a unanimous vote. So I look forward to seeing this project and other projects completed to make it safer to walk and bike in San Bruno. And I thank you for your time. Keep up the good work.
Malcolm, thank you very much for those comments, an update, and to the group. Bring it back to council. Councilmember Medina.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank Chairman Nigel and staff and all the committee members for their hard work. They take bicycling and pedestrian safety very seriously. Looking forward to seeing many great things from this group. So thank you very much for your hard work.
Okay, and again, as all the council will say to the chair and to the group, the BPAC committee, as Malcolm identified as, thank you. It's a lot of volunteer, but you are out there. You are leading by example, and the passion and dedication are evident. So thank you for everything. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to next item, which is item E, receive annual report from the Senior Citizen Advisory Board. I believe also we'll be having the chair, Chair Carmichael, will be giving that presentation. It's my understanding.
Yes, I've just brought Danielle Brewer, the staff liaison for the Senior Center Advisory Board, into the room, and she will be sharing her screen shortly. One second, I'm trying to unmute Danielle.
There we go. Okay. Dorothy Carmichael is here to present.
Madam Chair, please go forward and welcome.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Dorothy Carmichael, and I'm the chairperson for the Senior Citizens Advisory Board. And tonight I will be bringing you the annual report regarding the great things that happened at the San Bruno Senior Center. The board began meeting in July via Zoom, and we continue to meet once per month on the third Tuesday of the month. You will see the members of the board on the screen. The board worked with the staff to provide input and make recommendations for programs and activities for seniors. The members of the board are elected by the San Bruno seniors and hold office for 2 years. 2 members of the board are appointed by their respective organizations. And you can see myself, Chairperson Bill Goff, Vice Chairperson Karen Hornig as Treasurer, Herb Chu is the AARP representative, Bunny Epperson is a board member, Barbara Lusage is Nutrition Site Council representative, Priscilla Martinez is a board member, and Joanne Tracy is a board member. The Senior Center welcomed 46,000 seniors to the center this year. Over 55,000 of the participants are San Bruno residents. Since the Senior Center is so well known for activities, classes, and events, people come from all over the Bay Area to participate. The Senior Kitchen has served over 21,000 meals when shelter in place began and the Senior Center closed. Staff immediately jumped into action and began preparing meals to go and delivering to San Bruno residents in need of a hot meal. The delivery started with 18 and quickly grew to over 80 residents. In mid-May, the Grab and Go program was implemented. The deliveries decreased to about 35 per day. We hand out about 60 meals at the door each day through the Grab and Go program. You can see on the slide the lunch numbers from the first day we closed through August 31st.
There we go. There you go.
$109 requests were made for information and referral prior to COVID-19. Many of the calls were related to food sources, health, and social services and housing. Once COVID-19 happened, the calls changed. Most calls were regarding when the center would open, as well as when bingo and tax prep would resume. And of course, many calls were about the lunch delivery program. We estimate we have taken over 400 calls from seniors. Over 39,000 seniors participated in classes and programs this year. Some of the most popular classes this year were pickleball, bocce, and mahjong. The senior bus transported over 1,700 seniors to the center and back to their homes between July 2019 and February 2020. Many of these people would not be able to participate in programs, volunteering, or lunch if it were not for the transportation program. Over 14,000 hours of volunteerism were logged prior to COVID-19. These volunteers assisted in the kitchen with the lunch program, at the welcome desk, answering phones and questions, at the lunch table, checking in our clients each day for lunch, at bingo, on trips, and as part of the sports program. In June of 2020, the San Bruno Lions Club began volunteering to assist with the lunch preparation, kitchen cleanup, and grab and go handouts. In July, established senior volunteers returned to assist with the demands of the lunch program. There are approximately 4 to 6 volunteers daily. And I have to tell you, I went through today, and there were bags and boxes everywhere. And you don't know unless you come down there to see what is actually going on. It's a fantastic job that they're doing. And all the volunteers comply with all the safety protocols, including masks, gloves, hair coverings, and sanitization. Steve Vetter, one of our park retirees this past July, has returned a few days a week to help with the vehicle sanitization, lunch packing, and delivery. We are grateful for all the volunteers we have assisting, and we know our service level would not be possible without them. The Nutrition Site Council is a major benefactor of the Senior Center. They are the nonprofit organization who raises funds for various programs and activities. The funds are primarily raised through the weekly bingo games and through Freddy's Cafe. And as you know, the bingo games aren't going on. They donate $115,000 annually to support the nutrition and transportation programs. In addition, they sponsor the live entertainment for all parties, as well as the lunchtime entertainment we have Monday through Thursday when we are open. This year, the advisory board purchased 1 new billiard table to replace an aged table. We also completed repairs to one of the tables. The pool players are very pleased with the upgrades. To meet the ADA requirements, the Facilities Division completed the Year 1 upgrades. These include new signage that includes braille, adjustments of the doors for a slower swing close, and the removal of paper towel dispensers that protruded in the path of travel. This year we held the annual volunteer recognition lunch at the end of January. The theme was Volunteers Juggle It All. The entertainment was provided by a very funny magician juggler who encouraged volunteer participation on stage. The food was themed for Chinese New Year and was cooked by our fabulous chef, Fabiola. We celebrated the 33rd anniversary. I remember when this place was built, and I was still working at the time. And with a big celebration with 235 people in attendance. The entertainment was provided by a local band named Johnny Z and the Camaros. Other accomplishments to note this year include a seated music and motion class for those who want to participate in a class but have limited mobility. We added an additional day of pickleball at the gym to accommodate the influx of players. The increase in the mahjong games is incredible, with about 200 people participating each week. The kitchen implemented a composting program this year to help with waste. The lunch program prior to COVID-19 had already increased by by over 1,000 lunches. And finally, we co-sponsored a Food Smarts cooking workshop to help people to learn to cook for themselves, focusing on health and minimal waste. One goal this year is to introduce a seated yoga class if we are able to reopen. In addition, when we reopen, we will introduce a composting program into the dining room as well. We know this will take a lot of education for the seniors, but will be beneficial for trash reduction. Other projects include working with the Public Works Department to replace the trash enclosure, repave and restripe the parking lots, and implement the Year 2 ADA transition plan. On a personal note, I'd like to make a comment as to the past 6 months since the Senior Center has closed. I'm sure everyone on the board is grateful to the staff and especially to the kitchen, namely Fabiola, crews, and volunteers who have kept up the lunch program. I'm sure it has been challenging for all. I have heard from several who have received the benefit of the program, and they are very pleased at the extra care put into the deliveries, including a copy of the newspaper. I talked last year about starting a new life after retirement, and this closure has given me much to think about. One by one, all activities were stripped away. Seniors are having to start a new life, so to speak. It has been very difficult for some of us, as the center and the activities it offered have been taken away through extenuating circumstances. It has also made some of us more resilient as to keeping our lives on an even keel. There are those who were volunteers that have felt lost until they found new ways to volunteer to other seniors less fortunate. Some of the things I have done is visit a friend who is homebound each day. Another friend had a bout of pneumonia. I joined a mystery book club. I also learned how to navigate Zoom most of the time. And another friend grocery shops for mutual friends. Others get together at the park with masks to visit. We all need human connection. Thank you for listening. That concludes.
Thank you very, very much, Madam Chair. And to one thing Dorothy had said, which being their liaison, they had their first Zoom meeting. And again, it's the navigating, but they did great. But I think the interesting thing was the meeting had adjourned and they kept on the Zoom call. And it was just connecting, checking in with each other, seeing how people were feeling. And as Dorothy said, I think that is one of the things that I've heard is very appreciative for the meal program, and that is so critical to so many. But then two, just having that facility that has meant so much to so many, and really all the seniors treated as their second home. And so that has been, I think it was beautiful what you just said, and you're 100% correct. And I know everyone in our community looks forward to all our facilities open, but I know how important the senior center is. I want to thank you, Madam Chair, for the report, and I'm going to ask for Councilmember Mason. You had a comment.
I just wanted to say that I grew up largely in South City, and most of my neighbors are now in their 70s and 80s, and they come to San Bruno. They say it's the best senior center around, and watching your statistics are quite astonishing. I think you said 46,000 people visited. So I just wanted to say that you guys are doing a great job. And as far as COVID, the fact that the meals kept coming, over 4,000 meals, at a time when the senior population is the most vulnerable population at the onset. I mean, people were trying to avoid any connection at all. And overnight, the senior center was available for anybody who needed meals. And I don't know any better way to say resilience than the San Bruno Senior Center. I heard about it from my own neighbors. I saw it. I actually have a random question, but is the Senior Center also delivering the goodie bags I've seen a number of goodie bags campaigning that have a box of wipes with a mask. Is that? I'm just curious. Is that coming from the senior center? No. Okay. I don't know who's giving those, but thank you because I've seen a lot of those at doorsteps. But I just wanted to say thank you. I think we have an amazing senior community and a senior center to back that up. Thank you.
They know there's someone's birthday, if I could interject. They'll send a balloon to the house that'll say happy birthday and a card. And if there's a special holiday, they'll put in a hot pepper or something for Cinco de Mayo or candy bars or, and it's just, I go to my friend's house, so I have to check her goodie bag. I call it her goodie bag to see what's in there.
That's really thoughtful. Thank you.
Again, Madam Chair, please thank the body, the board, and I see it must be nice. I see you're at the senior center. So thank you. Got in. Thank you for coming down and giving us that report, and please pass on our best wishes to all.
Okay, thank you very much.
We will now move on to item F, receive update on COVID-19 response efforts, and that we will turn over to Jennifer.
We're just going to pull up the presentation quickly. Okay, we're ready to go now. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Jennifer Llanos. I'm the Assistant City Manager, and I'm here again this evening representing our Emergency Operations Center Public Information Team to provide our regular update to COVID-19 to you and our community. I'm here to provide you a very brief update of COVID-19 statistics, our current status on the blueprint for a safer economy, which was updated earlier this afternoon, an update on city operational modifications, and I will be available for questions after the presentation. This past week, as of Friday, September 18th, the County of San Mateo Health Department reports that in San Bruno, there are 416 positive COVID-19 cases. That's an increase from 379 as last reported at the last regular City Council meeting on September 8th. The county also reports that there are a total of 9,625 positive cases countywide and a total of 144 deaths also countywide. We continue to remain aligned with the state in our recovery effort and continue to make progress in accordance with the blueprint for a safer economy designed by the state. Earlier today, the state of California announced that effective immediately, San Mateo County was moved to the second tier of the 4-tier model reopening system. We were previously categorized as widespread with a color purple code. Our county has now moved up to the substantial category or the color red code. This means that our COVID-19 data for new cases and positive cases fall below the criteria established by the state. Data is reviewed weekly and tiers are updated on Tuesday by the state. To move forward, a county must meet the next tier's criteria for 2 consecutive weeks, and vice versa. If the county's metrics worsen for 2 consecutive weeks, it'll be reassigned to a more restrictive tier. So currently we're there at the substantial level. What does that mean for San Bruno businesses and our community? There's a summary on the screen, but this change essentially eases restrictions on businesses by allowing more business categories to reopen or expand their indoor operations. This category generally includes hair, nail, body waxing salons. Restaurants and places of worship can operate indoors at 25% capacity or 100 people, whichever is fewer. Museums, zoos, and aquariums can operate indoors at 25% capacity. Same for movie theaters. They're allowed to operate indoors at 25% or 100 people, whichever is fewer. Gyms and fitness centers can operate indoors at 10% capacity, and malls can increase their indoor capacity to 50%, which was previously at 25% under the widespread category. Bars and breweries are still not allowed to resume operations. And businesses can go to the state's website at covid19.ca.gov to pull up information on what is allowed by the state. They'll find the information by county, San Mateo County. On the website, businesses can also find guidance for operations, which are really helpful in the reopening process and can provide a large level of support. This change is a big deal as it shows that our efforts to reduce the spread of COVID-19 are contributing to our progress. As a reminder to the public when leaving home, please closely adhere to face covering and social distance requirements set forth to help further prevent the spread and keep our data trending down. It will take everyone's full effort, and we're all in this together, so please do your part. Next, I have a few operational updates to provide this evening. The city conducted a soft opening of City Hall effective last Monday, September 14th. As you know, City Hall was closed back in March when the county issued the original shelter-in-place order and non-essential businesses were reduced or limited. A limited number of residents or visitors are being allowed in City Hall on an appointment basis, as well as limited walk-in visits. The city remains committed to providing excellent service to members of the public and maintaining a safe environment for both the public and our city staff. When visiting City Hall, patrons can expect a controlled single point of entry and exit at the Linden entrance to City Hall. A greeter is stationed at the single entry point and will limit the entry and navigate visitors, as well as answer any questions and encourage visitors to use available online tools to remotely connect with staff to conduct city businesses. Temperature and symptom checks will occur with any visitor entering City Hall. They will be screened for fever and other symptoms prior to entering the facility, and of course, face coverings are required. There are plexiglass barriers installed at all customer service counters, as well as social distancing stickers on the floor to ensure proper 6-foot distancing. Staff has increased the cleaning schedule for surfaces that are frequently accessed in open areas. And lastly, residents and members of the public are still encouraged to utilize all online options and appointments to conduct business remotely, and that would be online or by phone. This includes the online payment of utility bills, which is safe and convenient when you have the opportunity to pay your bill from the comfort of your own home. We have several other service modifications as a result of the COVID-19 impacts, and you will receive 2 other presentations this evening detailing those, including the recent Dining on the Ave program and closure of San Mateo Avenue between Keynes and Angus for outdoor dining, as well as the Community Services Department 2020 summer recap and upcoming fall and winter programming schedule. Before I wrap up my short presentation this evening, I remind everyone that there are 2 dates for free COVID-19 testing in San Bruno. Those are tomorrow, September 23rd, and next Wednesday, September 30th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 975 State Lane. If you're interested, please register in advance by linking through the county website or through the Project Baseline directly, both of which websites are listed on the screen and available on our website. And lastly, I remind everyone to stay connected. We're continuing to increase our use of city social media accounts on Nextdoor, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And this is to send out messages for both COVID and non-COVID related topics. So if you're not already following us or have liked our pages, please do so that you stay current and up to date. And with that concludes my presentation for this evening. I appreciate your attention and I'm available for any questions.
Any questions from colleagues? Seeing none, then Jennifer, we always want to thank you for your updates and your reports. So we're going to go ahead and then move on to item G. Update on September 19th, 2020, dining on the Ave and the closure of San Mateo Avenue between Keynes and Angus for outdoor dining. We'll turn that over to the city manager.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the council, Javon Rogan, City Manager. I'm here to provide you with an update on our Dining on the Ave first pilot that occurred last Saturday. So the quick objective of this presentation is to do exactly that, let you know how it went. We have some images as well as a summary of the businesses that provided. We'll also talk about the steps that we have taken and then close out with any questions. So as council knows, and the public knows, at the very last council meeting, the city council authorized a 4-week pilot program to close a segment of San Mateo Ave. That segment being Cames to Angus during the midday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And so we were able to implement that on September 19th. So what did we do? We promulgated rules and regulations for social distancing, as well as sidewalk clearance to ensure that the ADA path of travel was maintained. We promulgated basic rules about fixtures and equipment in the roadway, really stating that the restaurants participating needed to use furniture only that was only for outside dining, so tables, chairs, umbrellas, etc. We also promulgated rules about the use of the parking strip, as well as keeping the main portion of San Mateo Avenue clear for public safety. And there was a 20-foot area down the middle of the road that was open in case an emergency vehicle needed to egress the area. We had staff, both personnel from the police department, as well as we had staff from the city manager's office and staff from our cable department that were there supporting the event. We did outreach to businesses, we developed flyers, we disseminated information, staff walked the Ave on numerous occasions, and we developed a full plan and implemented it. So this is an image of the patrol car blocking that 20-foot area for an emergency vehicle access if it was needed. And so who participated? In that block section between Ames and Kangas, there are 11 food establishments. 3 of those food establishments were closed on that Saturday. 3 were open for takeout only, and 5 food establishments were open and participating in outdoor dining. Marimar, K Grill and Tofu House, Nori, Atlas Pizza, and La Paloma. However, it's important to note that of those food establishments that were open and participating in outdoor dining, 4 of which participated in on-street parking area. That's notable because we allow now, and we have for several months now, allowed sidewalk dining. And so these 4 restaurants are the restaurants that took advantage of the additional space available for tables within the public street and that parking area. And so those 4 businesses were Marimar, K Grill and Tofu House, Nori, Atlas Pizza, and Atlas Pizza. For the restaurants that participated, staff actually walked the Ave both yesterday and today and heard positive feedback from the restaurants that participated. And I talked to a business owner today of 2 of those businesses that was very complimentary of the effort. There are also 14 non-food establishments in that block section. 8 were open. It's important to note that staff did touch base with most of those 8 businesses that were open, and the vast majority actually reported a negative experience and an unhappiness with the street closure. Only one of those businesses reported a excitement or a positive experience as a result of the street closure. And so it's important to know that this closure was for increased outdoor dining. And so some of the businesses that are retail in nature saw a loss as they reported in foot traffic. They said that it had a negative impact on their business. One said that it was a disaster, and a number of them were concerned about taken away from parking on the Ave during that period because their customers were not allowed or did not have access close to their retail establishment. Important to know. This is a picture before the event was started of the restaurants that did set out additional tables in the public street. And so it's important to note that there were approximately 11 additional tables that were allowed to be put in the public street. You have Atlas Pizza that has built-in outdoor dining. They put out an additional 3 tables. You have Nori that put out in this photo 2 additional tables. There may have been a third one that they put out later. You have Marimar that has sidewalk dining, and you can see there are 4 umbrellas in this picture that are on the sidewalk. They had additional tables close to their storefront, but they put out an additional 3 tables on the street. And then you have K-Grill and Tofu that put out 3 tables in the parking strip. They have since approached the city and would like to implement sidewalk dining to on a more permanent basis during COVID-19, where we have the relaxed regulations for sidewalk dining. They would like to put tables on the sidewalk, and so they may be able to put three tables on the sidewalk. So those 3 tables that you see in the parking strip will likely go onto the sidewalk. And so we intend to do the event this Saturday unless unless council directs otherwise, or the businesses say that they are not going to participate. We have touched base with those restaurants that did participate last time. Important to note that they said yes, they would participate earlier today. However, what happened midday today is, as Jennifer Dianos mentioned, we moved, our county moved from the widespread tier to the substantial tier in the state COVID-19 roadmap, which allows 25% capacity for indoor dining. And so we will be checking back in with these businesses to confirm that now that they are allowed 25% occupancy for indoor dining, they also are allowed to do sidewalk dining, that they also will want the third piece of that, which is additional dining in the parking strip on the street. And so if we have roughly the same amount of businesses that would like to participate and put additional tables in the street, based on prior council direction, we will continue to proceed and have the outdoor dining this coming Saturday. And so we will make that outreach tomorrow. As council knows, that happened midday today, where the county put out their press release, and so we did not have an opportunity to go back and circle back with all the businesses. I did personally connect with 2 of the businesses, and they will put tables out in the public street. So that concludes the brief update, and available for any questions from the city council.
Down the shared screen. Thank you. All right. Comments from council, and what I'd appreciate, just in the interest of time, if we can go around once, ask or say what you need to, so we can keep the meeting going. So any hands from my colleagues? Or mics? If your mic goes off, I'll know that you want to speak, so no worries. Okay, so we're not seeing. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Davis.
There you go. I thought I unmuted it, but it seemed like there was still a cross line through it. So I would just say thank you for the presentation, Javon. Some good stats. You know, my family owned a business on San Mateo Avenue for over 30 years, and I will tell you that, you know, 2 bad Saturdays is not good. And so I feel for the businesses that I know that suffered on Saturday because they weren't a restaurant. You know, the stats aren't very good, right? You get a few businesses with 3 tables that are open, which the 3 tables could ideally be moved to the sidewalk. And then you've got staff overtime, you got cost to the city, but ultimately it's the businesses that were affected by it that I worry about, because everybody, whether it's a restaurant or a non-restaurant, is struggling to pay their rent. And that's a sad thing, because Saturdays are so important for so many businesses. So I feel for them, and I apologize to them. And I know that this is a trial thing, and so we'll see what happens next Saturday. But it's unfortunate that majority of the businesses actually suffered instead of gained.
Councilmember Medina.
Yeah, thank you for that. When we voted for this, we were unsure, and there were some promising things that I saw. I saw a lot of smiling eyes. People seemed pretty excited to be there, and the people that I spoke to afterwards were happy to see something happen. I think this was a good visualization for in the future when COVID is past, that how we could have kids riding bikes and maybe some other family activity there. But I thought everybody was pretty well behaved. I saw most, if not everyone, with the mask. And I do want to point out that the Kava bar did bring out a table, so they were participating. I guess letting people sample that drink. So the consequence or the unfortunate that some businesses are being impacted by this, it definitely is unfortunate. And we can't keep everybody happy when we try to do something. So I do share that concern. So thank you.
Vice Mayor Salazar.
Thank you. So just a couple of questions. One, regarding cost. Do we have cost estimates, and do we know how that compared to our projections for what the event would cost?
No, we do not have final cost estimates, likely between $3,000 to $4,000, so less expensive than the $6,300 that was projected last time.
Okay. All right. And when I was there early between 10 and noon, and the folks I talked to, it was definitely a mixed bag. The folks that were setting up their tables seemed excited for the opportunity, and the folks who weren't participating weren't very happy, and they felt that they weren't given enough notice, and their customers were definitely impacted by having to walk extra, especially the little grocery store that was there. She told me that her customers were having to go around the back, and they didn't know it was happening, and so they thought they were probably closed because the street was closed. They didn't know what was going on. So I'm wondering, are we going to do any more outreach and talk to the restaurants that did participate to find out if they're maybe looking to take advantage of indoor versus doing the outdoor again? And also just to let the other businesses know that it's coming, and perhaps help them with a little advertisement so they can get the word out to their customers that they are in fact open. I think in the case of the grocery store, they were allowing customers to come in through the back, or they were opening the garage in the back or something, so they would have a shorter path. But if we could help them with their communication, maybe that would help alleviate some of their suffering.
Yeah, yes. So Councilmember Salazar, I think there were a couple questions there. The first one was, are we going to do another outreach to the restaurants to see if they want to participate now that they are allowed 25% occupancy for indoor dining? The answer to that is yes. After the county announcement today, we did reach out to 2 of the 5 restaurants that did participate in the outdoor dining. Those 2 said that they would participate and have dining in the public street. We will reach out to the other 3 food establishments and see if they will do so as well. With prior direction from the city council to do this, knowing that it would benefit some restaurants and other businesses would be negatively impacted, it is staff's intention to have this next Friday, as long as we have restaurants agreeing to put tables out on the public street. Knowing that anytime you do something like this, there's a ramp-up period. There's going to be growing pains the first time. Everyone's not going to know about it. All the public is not going to see the social media posts and the flyers that this is happening. And so there will be growing pains. And so we will absolutely, your other question, advertise this and do another round of advertisement of the event. Sort of after we check with those other restaurant establishments. What I said before in the presentation was, we know that our non-retail establishments, the vast majority that were open that day, reported a negative experience. And so if what happened last time happens again, that will continue to happen. And as Councilmember Medina said, it's sort of a mixed bag. We knew that closing the avenue for outdoor dining would benefit or hopefully benefit the restaurants that participate. However, some restaurants or businesses that are not participating in outdoor dining may be disadvantaged. And we certainly saw this by their own reporting. And what the major change that has occurred is now restaurants have 25% occupancy indoor. That is a major change from when these conversations initially started. But based on prior direction, we will be moving forward if the restaurants want to participate.
Thank you.
And then before I go to Councilmember Mason, Javon, I believe you had said Friday, and just to be clear, it's Saturday. Just
yes. Sorry.
Councilmember Mason.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to just thank everybody who helped set up. I got there at around 11:30, and I stayed until about 4:30. And I spoke to just about every business on the block. There is some how would I phrase it? Some really serious concern for some of our small businesses who are suffering and about whether they're going to make it. And so I want to throw that out there, not necessarily as this Saturday between 11 and 3, but most of the conversations that I had were, is the 4 hours the difference between, making it on a Saturday, which is a busy day, or is the issue around COVID and whether your business is going to make it through COVID? And what I want to say is that it's very concerning, some of the conversations that I had. It was clear to me that a number of the business owners are not aware of some of the programs that are being funded right now to assist them. And I know that's a different conversation. I just want to point that out because it does greatly concern me that this is happening. But as far as Saturday, I think it was a great first Saturday with closures since the farmers markets in 2012, 2013. Given that the goal was not to have a fair-like atmosphere, given that the goal was to try to get people out and get fresh air in addition to supporting our small business community, I think it was a good start. And from the comments that I've heard, I don't know what the thoughts are, but one of the public comments today is asking for an expanded street closure. I know that some of the other restaurants I spoke with that were on the other side of the block said, what about us? Are we going to get a turn? And so I think one of the questions I did want to raise is it going to be, for this Saturday, will it be this block or will it be 2 blocks or will it be a different block? I believe West Coast Cafe was one of the restaurants interested in participating. So I'm just throwing that out there. I know that this is a really hard time and I don't take that lightly. But I do want to ask the question, since we're going to continue this on Saturday, do we want to expand to another street or do we want to change to another street to give the business owners who may have lost business last week a break and then try a different street for the closure?
City Manager?
I'm sorry, Mayor. I thought that was directed to the City Council for policy direction on that. What I would say is that we zeroed in on this block because it had the largest grouping of restaurants, and through the closure, we knew that some non-restaurant, i.e. retail businesses, may potentially be disadvantaged. But we were trying to help restaurants because restaurants could only do takeout and sidewalk dining. And so this program was geared toward providing an expanded area for outdoor dining on street. And so there was talk about potentially expanding it to other areas, but this area was centered on, for the reason I stated, and the second reason actually comes to mind is when we talked about the number of streets that would need to be closed or the intersections that would need to be staffed. This block actually was sort of a natural point to where you could block off Canes and Angus and have sort of a nice tight closure and parallel streets that allow easier navigation than some of the other blocks along the avenue. And so at this point, staff is not intending to do the closure on other portions of San Bruno Avenue that have, frankly, more retail businesses and fewer restaurants, unless so directed by the city council.
Okay, understood. So I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that. I'm okay with it staying. I'm also okay with it moving. I just wanted to throw that out there because I did hear those comments and saw the public comments submitted for today.
Right. For myself, it being Tuesday, tomorrow being Wednesday, to try to communicate effectively where some already thought their customer base wasn't notified, and trying to redirect things, and then they'll have to go down there and start rearranging, call Samtrans and rearrange the bus. I don't think it's fair to staff. I don't think it's fair to the merchants or the customers. So I personally, I think it needs to stay as it is for those things, it being Tuesday night, and we're talking about Saturday morning, personally. But I think Councilmember Medina, I would agree with what he said. A mixed bag, right? Mixed bag of retailers and that. And so we had 4 restaurants that actually put tables into the street. The numbers, it sounded like 5, 3, 6, 9, maybe 12 tables in the street. And with the 25%, that'll be interesting to see what the other 2 restaurants will report back to. So that's my thoughts, but I would agree with a lot of what my colleagues said. So City Manager, I'm kind of hearing just to continue on as was committed for this Saturday as is.
Will do.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it for the report and the update and staff's effort. Councilmember Mason.
Just one request. I don't know if it could be maybe laminated, but one of the comments that I got from the Boiling Beijing and the Japanese restaurant were that places like Uber and DoorDash don't know where to go because you have a lot of drivers who've never been in the downtown. Would it be possible to maybe have a laminate sign just letting them know where they can park in one of the lots? Because you just had the A-frames, but there was nothing pointing anybody to any parking lots or parking spaces.
Will do.
All right, again, thank you to staff. Let's move on to item H, 2020 Community Services Department Summer Recap and Fall Winter Programming Schedule. Mr. Wallace.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Tim Wallace. I am the Acting Community Services Director. I'm pleased to present to you the 2020 Community Services Department Summer Recap and Fall Winter Programming Schedule. Joining me this evening will be Danielle Brewer, Community Services Superintendent, and Barbara Bruxford, Library Services Manager. This evening's agenda will consist of an introduction that will include the department's contributions to the Emergency Operations Center. The programs of each of the department's divisions, which consist of parks, recreation, senior center, and library, will be discussed at length. At the conclusion of the presentation, we'll be happy to take any questions you may have. Each division of the department has modified its respective work programs in response to COVID-19. In some cases, work programs have been modified several times as state and county orders have changed. You'll hear much more about these modifications as we discuss the divisions in more detail. The department has found innovative methods to continue to offer services to the public despite the closure of facilities. These include programs as varied as live streaming story time, virtual summer camp, and senior lunch delivery, amongst others. Our fall and winter programming plans demonstrate a continued commitment to the San Bruno community by finding unique methods to offer meaningful programs. We will discuss these programs in depth when we review each division's operations. The department will remain nimble and is prepared to make changes to its programming as health orders warrant. Every aspect of the city's response to COVID-19 emanates from its Emergency Operations Center, also known as the EOC. To date, community services staff have contributed over 1,500 hours to the EOC. Employees from each division have played a role since the EOC opened in early March. These employees have performed a variety of duties, including the procurement of PPE supplies and controlling the inventory of those supplies, creating graphics and posting information to the city's social media platforms, acting as liaison to the City Council, and acting as assistant to the EOC director. In addition, community services staff cooked and delivered daily meals for Emergency Operations Center staff during the months of March and April. We'll now move on to the Parks Division. The city's parks have been a respite for San Bruno's residents from the very beginning of the pandemic. Our parks are open every day. During the early months of the pandemic, with so many activities we took for granted suddenly no longer allowed, one of the few things that was allowed was to visit a neighborhood park for exercise and fresh air. The city's parks have been popular destinations since the very first days of shelter in place. Here's a photo of a group of friends that were tired of not seeing each other and decided to come and meet up at the park regularly with each other in a safe manner. In March, per shelter-in-place orders, the park staff rotated skeleton crews to cover essential duties only. These duties included removal of trash and litter, as well as addressing any safety issues. While the parks themselves remained open, parks amenities were closed, including restrooms, drinking fountains, tennis courts, and the dog park, amongst others. As the weeks went by, it became apparent that shelter-in-place orders would last much longer than initially anticipated. Along with that, what was considered essential evolved. The grass and plants didn't know about COVID-19, and they continued to grow. Having unkempt landscaping became a safety issue, as parks visitors were tripping over the long grass and branches were beginning to impede walking paths. Park staffing levels were brought back to full strength by the end of April. Many parks amenities reopened on July 7th for same household usage. These included tennis courts, basketball courts, ball fields, and the dog park, as well as restrooms. The reopening of these amenities increased cleaning and disinfecting. Park staff began cleaning restrooms twice a day instead of once. Staff also began disinfecting the gate handles at each entry point to the tennis courts and the dog park. Signage was prominently posted as a reminder to social distance and wear face coverings. This gentleman is very happy that the tennis courts are open again. He's been playing tennis at City Park for decades and has made many friendships there. During COVID-19, parks employees have taken on the additional role of educators. When they find people not obeying the signs in the parks, they remind them that the guidelines are there for everyone's safety. Parks employees are proud that they are doing their part to keep COVID-19 from spreading. Two upcoming parks projects are the Florida Avenue Park opening and the Tom Lara Field renovation. We're very excited about the Florida Park Avenue project. The project broke ground on August 18th. Irrigation and sod have been installed. The sod is currently in the process of taking root, and we're pleased to announce that the opening of Florida Avenue Park will take place on Saturday, October 10th, 10 a.m. The Tom Lara Field renovation is moving forward. City Council approved the execution of a construction contract in late August for the renovation of the bleachers structure. This project will include repairs to existing concrete, sealing and repainting of the concrete, installation of new bleachers, and installation of new doors and windows. We expect to break ground on this project this coming Monday, September 28th. Prior to COVID-19, Parks had a staff of 12 permanent and 2 part-time employees. It is now a staff of 9 permanent and no part-time employees. This group of 9 is responsible for 97 acres of parks land, 128 acres of open space, 7,250 trees, and 7.3 miles of street medians. In light of this, we've reorganized duties in an effort to work as efficiently as possible. Though they are a smaller group, they always strive to keep public areas safe and as aesthetically pleasing as possible. This concludes the parks portion of the presentation. I'll now turn it over to Danielle Brewer to present recreation and senior programming.
Ms. Brewer.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Danielle Brewer, and I am the Community Services Superintendent. Tonight, I will talk a bit about what has been going on at the Recreation and Senior Divisions while we've been closed due to COVID-19, and then I'll also give you a small glimpse of what is to come in the fall and winter. This summer, we had to reimagine how we offered our summer camp. So this year, we offered 8 weeks of virtual summer camp. Each week came with 25 activities and the supplies and instructions to do those activities. We had 272 participants registered for the summer camp. And this is a picture of the 2 girls that were doing, that's a nature camp, and they were taking a little hike, which was one of the activities, doing a hike in a local park and doing a small little scavenger hunt. The other thing we did this summer was we became members of the California Parks and Recreation Society's Agents of Discovery. Families were allowed to download their app on their phones, and then they would go to the various parks that we would tell them to go to as part and complete missions as part of the event. We had 20 cities in California that participated, and San Bruno placed first with 879 residents participating. We had, I think, 5 different parks that they could go to do these activities, and because we won first place, we were able to get 4 adventure prize kits awarded to us, which we have now distributed to families who participated that were we gave them out randomly to these families that had registered through the Agents of Discovery. So this was a really cool program that we had never done before, and it was California Parks and Recreation Society is our professional organization, and it was offered to 20 cities for free. So this was a free activity that we were able to allow our residents to participate in and get out into the parks. And that is our certificate for our first place win. So it's just kind of a cool thing. I think we'll probably do it again next year and subsequent years just because it's free and it was fun for everyone. We can pick different parks, and then it gets people out to different parks. This fall and winter, we are going to be reimagining all of the regular special events that we do normally. So all these traditional special events will be done with a social distancing and virtual component. We are planning event, and just keep in mind, you see all of these that we're doing the San Bruno Camp-In instead of the camp out in the park. We're going to be doing the virtual 5K instead of the triathlon that we normally would do. We are going to be doing a youth fitness challenge, which is 6 to 8 weeks of fitness challenges for youth that will be offered by the PE teachers in San Bruno at both Cappuccino and Parkside, as well as some of the youth sports groups who will give us some of their workouts, and they'll be given to the kids to do. And then at the end, the kids will get a certificate and a prize. For instead of our Halloween programs, we're going to be doing one virtual Halloween costume contest that's virtual. That information is out on social media now with the different the different categories that you can enter. And then our Jinx Joyride, which will happen at Tanforan Mall, where people can decorate their cars, dress up, and then drive through the parking lot at Tanforan and get some treats. And then Jingle Around the Block will take place of our annual holiday tree lighting. We will have Santa on a fire truck going through the different areas of town. Every part of the city will be visited, and we will get a map out to the communities soon. And then we're bringing back our letters from Santa and our Santa hotline. We're excited about the Santa hotline because Santa will call the children at home, and our senior volunteers are very excited to be part of that. And then finally, just to let you know, we did have 64 part-time employees pre-COVID, and now we have no part-time staff. And then we had at the recreation center 2 coordinators and 1 supervisor, and now we are down to no supervisor and 2 coordinators. And then I'm there as well, but I split my time at the senior center. So we're doing this with a very skeleton crew. Both coordinators are busy doing COVID-19 EOC duties, as well as one of them is still part of the PIO team, and the other one is part of the delivery team of the senior lunches every day. So we are quite busy with a very short staff. We're also going to be offering some enrichment classes this fall and winter. Some will be virtual, so some that are able to be, such as driver's training, STEM fundamentals, coding and tech, the debate and public speaking. But some will also be in person. So we are going to be having line dancing and self-defense in the park, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but we'll be having them in the park in a social distancing and safe way. But behind the scenes, the other things that we are doing is we're prepping for the demolition of the recreation center and pool that will start at the beginning of the year. We're cleaning and organizing 65 years of supplies and equipment, finding some really fun stuff. But we're also preparing for off-site temporary programming during our construction. And again, we're doing this with 2 full-time staff, 2 office staff, and who are also part of the EOC, as we spoke earlier about, and then myself, who is split at the senior center. So we're doing all of these things, plus we're getting ready for our demolition and our move. One of the things that I'm really excited about was the youth sports group's return to play. We developed a return to play procedures and guidelines that was distributed to all our youth sports. The ones that are interested in coming back and starting up again, they had to turn in their agreement to follow all the procedures and guidelines. And so far we have a couple of baseball groups, a couple of softball groups, and a couple of soccer groups who are participating. We are among the first in the area to allow them to go back, and we actually shared our guidelines with the other cities as they wanted to adopt some of the rules that we had put in place. Most of the cities were having the youth groups give them the guidelines. We took a different approach where we gave the youth groups the guidelines they needed to follow, so that we had a little more control over making sure that what they were doing was going to meet our guidelines and our criteria. So far, all of the sports groups are following the rules, and all things are going well, and there are no reports of any children getting sick or any issues. So far, it's all going very well, and they're all very happy to be back. Next, we're renting out space for classes and local businesses. We have identified 4 parks that can be used, and we have mapped out squares. These are rectangles. These rectangles are 120 feet by 90 feet. This first picture is the one at Pacific Heights and how many we can get at Pacific Heights. And then the second one is Grundy Park. We also are doing Commodore Park and Lions Field. So all of those are areas that either businesses in San Bruno or classes can rent and use and be able to bring their indoor programming outdoors. Right now we are working with a couple of the businesses on San Mateo Avenue to bring some of their programming outdoors. We also, like I mentioned earlier, are going to use a few of these spaces for our classes. We're also hoping to bring yoga out as well as a couple of other of our classes. So we're excited about getting to do that as well. Now I will speak about the Senior Center. The Senior Center staff continues to be very busy during the closure. As you heard Dorothy earlier talk about all of the meal preps and the things we're doing around the nutrition program. So the daily lunch program, we are cooking for over 100 people every day. So we're serving over 100 meals, hot meals each day, and delivering about 85 of those. We're delivering about 65 of those, and about 55 to 60 are coming to pick up. When we started, we had about 85 that we were delivering. Once we started the grab and go program, those numbers decreased a little bit, and some people actually really like coming to the center to pick up their lunch because it gets them out of the house. They have someone to talk to. And the great thing about that is we get to see them each day and check in on them. We do continue to work under all the county guidelines and the standards for the lunch program. So we are still funded by the county program. And we were among the first cities to also give them the guidelines that we were going to work under to be able to start the grab and go and the delivery program, because those programs are not allowed under the county guidelines in normal circumstances. Food is not to leave the facility under normal circumstances. So when we wanted to start this, I sent to the county the guidelines that we were going to work under, and they approved them immediately, and we were able to only miss, I think, 2 days. So we did it pretty quickly. Senior wellness and check-ins, we do daily phone contact with our seniors. We make about 10 to 12 phone calls each day, and then we get phone calls each day, and we're able to check in to make sure that we're touching base with some of the high-risk seniors and checking to make sure they're not experiencing any loneliness or depression. And then the other thing we're doing is we send cards, like Dorothy mentioned. We send cards to the ones that have birthdays each week. So all the staff and the volunteers sign for them. And then the ones that we deliver to, when we know that they're having a birthday, we deliver them a balloon and a card, and maybe like a little baggie of candy. And these are some of the thank you notes that we've received. They love us, and it's actually very adorable that some of them leave notes daily. So it's a nice check-in with them, and people are very happy to have us both delivering and having the grab and go. Also, as Dorothy mentioned, this summer we had the Lions Club come help. They reached out to us and asked if they could come help with the lunch services. When we first started and we were at about 65 or 70, we were able to manage. But when it got up to about 85 or 90 and then over 100, the few of us that were here couldn't manage any longer. And so the Lions Club reached out. They came out and helped with packing the lunches, the prepping of the food, the sanitization, the dishes, which is huge. It's so hard to get the dishes done and be packing everything up, and then the cleanup, and then handing out at the grab and go window, because that's something that it takes someone there to sit there for an hour. And so it was great to have volunteers be able to do that, and then staff didn't have to sit at the door and take their time doing that. We have 3 staff that come and help with the lunch delivery, some from the library, some from the park, some from the rec. And of course, Mary every day at the Senior Center. And then we also have 2 volunteers that have been helping. As As Dorothy mentioned, Steve Better has been coming and helping a few days a week to drive. And then we have a new man who started this week that we found through the San Mateo County volunteers. And we did all the reference checks, all the background. He's done all of his trainings, and he now started this week, and he's going to help with the driving and the delivery as well. So that's helping free up some of the full-time staff to be able to do a lot of to do their own work instead of doing the deliveries. Here at the Senior Center, we have one vacancy with the Senior Center coordinator. So we still have the lunch coordinator and the Senior Center volunteer, the Senior Center supervisor, which is Mary. And then again, I'm split half-time. And we did have all of our 9 part-time staff and 140 volunteers leave us during COVID. The volunteers that are back are so very happy to be back and helping. We feel it gives them a purpose. They are just ecstatic to be here every day. And this is some of our volunteers sitting at the lunch table handing out. And Olivia back there is 98 years old, and she comes a couple days a week with her daughter here, Mary, and it definitely keeps her mind sharp. So. And finally, we've done a couple of senior mailings and linking them to some virtual classes. We distributed 2 mailings so far, and we're currently working on our 3rd. We're trying to get some virtual programming together for the fall for them. And this included information, some fun brain teasers, some coloring pages, just to kind of keep them entertained, and then offered some advice on how to thrive during the shelter in place and how to take care of themselves and watch out for depression and some things to look at. And then we also linked some websites, so like some light yoga and some light Zumba that they could do from home. And so they've been doing that as well. And just getting some social distancing ideas together for them for fall. So that's what we're working on now. That concludes me.
Okay. Thank you, Danielle. We're going to turn it over now to Barbara Bruxford to talk about library programming.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Barbara Bruxford. I'm Library Services Manager for the San Bruno Public Library. The library staff's been very busy serving the community since the shelter-in-place order began. I'm going to touch on just a few of the projects we've worked on and give you an aerial view. So the San Bruno Library was the only library in San Mateo County to never close the library book return. From the beginning, we have been working both on virtual services and the handling of library materials. Just 3 weeks into the shutdown, we fully transitioned to live streaming story time with library staff and some guests, including San Bruno PD and San Bruno Fire. To date, over 1,200 households have watched live streaming story time, and some of them send us pictures. We had a guest bilingual story time featuring Moises Lopez of Star Vista's Fatherhood Outreach Program. Moises was the host of the library-based Dad's Cafe and is now taking the program online. Don't worry, it's hard to tell in 2 dimensions, but we are 6 feet apart, and we did wear masks when we were not on camera. Our Storytime page has the next live stream link, plus Storytime book links and book lists, and links to over 60 Channel 1 San Bruno CityNet Once Upon a Time Storytime recordings. Bookmark it and make it a go-to page for your kids. San Bruno Library was also the first library in San Mateo County to implement curbside delivery, and among the first in the Greater Bay Area. Library staff have evolved this process, innovating several times. In the beginning of August, we doubled the number of pickup appointments, and this week we have added a self-service appointment system. Here we have an inside look at curbside delivery. You can see what is involved with those 20,000 items that we've circulated since the closure. What this doesn't show you, however, is the 50 to 70 daily phone calls we receive to connect with patrons and run services smoothly. It does give some idea of how labor-intensive curbside delivery is, as each book must be handled, shelved, pulled, and organized by staff. Before the shutdown, in addition to permanent staff, there were 15 on-call staff that did most of the materials handling operation of the library. We now have 7 permanent staff running all operations of the library, conducting programs, doing materials handling, and providing assistance to other divisions and departments. Here you can see part of our curbside team, including Kamira Tang on the left, who retired at the end of July after 35 years of service to the city. In the upper right are 36 packages ready for patrons for curbside delivery that day. And in the lower left, you can see the quarantine tables where items are quarantined for 4 days before being returned to shelves. And in the lower right are books being held for patrons. This picture is just a glimpse because it shows only books for patrons whose last names begin with L and M. Transitioning again, in June we focused on grant and infrastructure projects to be absolutely ready for when we can serve patrons in the building. The work is now completed, fulfilling the $34,700 Cat 6 cabling grant. The library has been part of the high-speed scenic network covering colleges, universities, and government agencies for many years with fiber delivered to the building. But the library has not been able to take full advantage of the data speeds due to the limitations of in-building equipment. Now, with the cabling upgrade, you can see the order of magnitude for our Wi-Fi is over 100 megabits per second. This grant was fully funded through the state library. We were also able to purchase and configure 41 new computers and laptops and host 6 online digital literacy workshops with a $47,250 grant. The replaced computers could no longer be upgraded, so these were critical replacements of our public and homework center computers. We also received grants to establish a separate San Bruno ebook collection and to do outreach to the Bel Air School summer lunch site participants. Throughout the summer and ongoing, library staff have conducted virtual class visits to the Big Lift Inspiring Summers Camp and the San Bruno Park School District's preschool classrooms, reaching over 500 students so far. The library has always had a rich selection of virtual services, including some you see here, such as online tutoring, animated picture books, online, and we also have online magazines, ebooks, and more. We also featured in June, July, and August with the Peninsula Library System an always available anti-racism and social justice book collection. These titles circulated over 3,000 times during that period. Sign up for the San Bruno Community Services Department newsletter to stay current with all our great programs coming up. We are looking forward to our first virtual assembly this Friday and are very excited about continuing our second event in partnership with NASA Ames Speakers Bureau, marking the 7th installment in our Coffee and the Cosmos Astronomy series. Library patrons are letting us know how valuable the curbside delivery service is to them. So this patron could not find her classroom materials through any other venue and was very appreciative. And we've had similar comments from other patrons. Since the shelter in place, 256 patrons have joined over 20,000 San Bruno residents. So half of San Bruno are library card holders, 20,000. Thank you so much for your attention and support. This concludes our presentation, and my Community Services Department colleagues and I are happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Tim. Are there any comments? I'm sure there's not too many questions, but is there any comments from members of the council? Vice Mayor Salazar.
I just wanted to say it's amazing how much is going on, despite of all that's going on with COVID and everybody sheltering in place. It's just amazing what our staff has been able to do. So, really proud of all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Medina.
Yeah. Wow. That's very impressive. I do have a question, if someone wanted to volunteer for any of the buildings or services, do we accept volunteers?
Yes.
I know we're doing it at the senior, but like how would somebody volunteer? Or is there a need for volunteers? Because I know the Lions are always looking to help, as well as Rotary. So somebody can answer that.
Sure, I'll answer that. So yes, we're happy to take volunteers both at the senior center and at the library. We have volunteers at both locations. So there's a process to go through. You have to get background checked and all of that. But absolutely. So call either the senior center or the library, and we'd be happy to set folks up.
Excellent. Thank you. You guys are doing a great job. Really, really appreciate it.
Okay, seeing no other hands, want to thank everybody for the
To the mayor.
Councilmember Mason.
I just didn't get to it fast enough. I just wanted to say personally, thank you, because we have been doing the live streaming of the story time. And Barbara, it is a lifesaver with kids because so much is not open right now. So I just really personally want to thank you. And I'm really amazed looking at the presentation today at how much Park and Rec is doing. I've talked to a number of community members who worked for the city years ago, and you are really at very low capacity for the amount of work that you're taking on. So I just want to thank the departments. I think you're doing a phenomenal job. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just very quickly, again, I want to please pass on our thanks and appreciation to the staff. The city has always been lean, but let me tell you, it's been challenging times, different times, but no one's dealt with COVID-19 and still trying to be available and provide a great service that you are to the community. So thank you.
Thank you.